Hello, and welcome to Project Pack 23. My name is Martha.
And I'm Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Hello. This is pretty exciting.
Yes. We're very happy to be here with everyone today.
We are in the year 2024, and Zentangle turns 20, which is really fun.
Yes.
So this year, all of our project packs will help us celebrate that really fun.
Yes, I mean, how can you celebrate something this momentous in one day or 1 week?
No.
So we're taking the whole year. And with this project pack, we are, of course, starting at the beginning, and we are going to be honoring sort of the birth of Zentangle and all that story is and how it became the Zentangle Method.
Super fun. And of course, as our normal approach to things, we are taking a bit of an outside-the-box approach to this idea of playing with the illuminated letter and manuscripts and all that kind of fun stuff. So in Zentangle speak, we often say we're inspired by something, or we've taken something from these beautiful things of the past and then made them more
accessible.
To what we're doing. So we're not trying to replicate an illuminated manuscript. We're trying to take all the things we love from it and sort of the stories behind it and the joy from it and create something new and amazing. So it's going to be
interpreting it through
It's going to be a fun project. Yes. We're pretty excited about that. So, Martha, what are we using here? We're going to be using all the materials from the project pack.
Yes, of course. And we have this amazing, beautiful, pre-strung, if you will, beautiful manuscript type
template.
Yeah. And so far we've put down some beautiful washed colors, and we have a string, so we are actually pretty close to getting ready to tangling.
So excited. As usual, if you don't have these materials and you don't have a project pack number 23, we invite you to tangle along with us with whatever materials you might have at home. And if you're just chiming in for the first time today and you haven't seen our introductory video for this series, we really encourage you to go back and watch that. This series is cumulative.
Yes. And need to start from the beginning.
Yeah, so it's good to know where it started and get a little background information and then come back to this video when you're ready to tangle.
Yes. So I have all of my materials in front of me here, all of my pens and pencils that I'm going to be using
today,
now.
Right? Pretty much just
for this lesson. Yeah, the 3 microns and the graphite and chalk and my tortillons. And I'm going to be working, we've got this big piece of paper here, so we're going to do our best to really hone in on the areas that we're working on. And today we are working right now in this space right here and focusing in on some of the string lines that we've put down, and we're going to get started. All right. So this is pretty exciting, taking pen to paper for the first time on this big, beautiful project.
Very exciting.
Yes.
And I think it's important to note that we all have very similar yet different strings. So, so don't think that because Martha starts working, on a certain line that yours is going to look exactly like that. The whole idea of this project is to have some variation what everybody's creating and learn how to react to your own string. And so Martha's going to kind of lead you in how you might look at yours. And we always say if there's a line or a string line that you don't that you want somewhere and it's not there yet, you can put it there.
Yes. So I guess you can think of it as I'm guiding you on a dance, and you are going to dance your own dance.
Oh, I love that.
And we're going to do it together. I'm asking you to be brave. It's going to be great. All right. So we're starting out with the Micron 05. It's kind of a mid-sized nib, but we've got a big piece of paper here. So we want to use something a little bit bigger than the 01 that we normally use.
Yep.
And as I was saying earlier, we all have a different type of string going on down here. And so I'm going to ask you to choose one that feels right for you. The idea here is I'm going to take a grid tangle and I'm going to kind of turn it into a vining tangle. And I want to travel sort of from the top to the bottom. So any one of these strings, I could choose this one, or even this one over here.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, so choose one that travels, the distance between. And if you don't have one, you can pick up your pencil and kind of add on to something that's there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to choose this one here as my guide, and that's a really important thing. It is just a guide. You're going to see me using it to inspire my direction, but I might ignore parts of it. And I hope that you feel strong enough to do that as well.
And that goes for the template itself, too. We're going to be using some of the template lines as a guide and a structure, and then sort of ignoring it here and there to play with some layering techniques.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to do a tangle together called Puppy Hugs. It's kind of a hybrid tangle where we take some elements of Huggins and some other elements of different tangles. And it's typically done in a grid, but this time we're just going to kind of do a column of pegs, like in a pegboard, and link them together. So starting up at the top and using this string line as my guide, I'm going to put down a series of orbs as my anchors. And you can either go kind of on the either side of a string, or you can use the string as one edge of your puppy hugs, which is how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to start off with an orb right here. And I'm going to travel down the string. And once I choose my distance here, I'm going to keep that distance all the way throughout the tangle. And I'm going to travel down this string line. Drawing my orbs. Kind of being grateful for a simple stroke to get me started. And right here, this string line kind of curves around, but I think I want it to have a little bit of a gentler curve.
You're just going to go right off the rails?
I'm going off the rails right at the beginning. And I'm going to stop right here for now. And now I'm going to sort of draw the mates that go with these orbs.
Oh, that's a cute way of saying it.
Yeah. And here we go. And again, I'm going to try to keep that similar distancing and turning my, I'm going to call it a tile, but it's an awfully big tile.
Martha kind of just jumped right into this, and she did that for a reason, because often we think too much about putting that initial ink lines in. So we actually didn't even spend too long to pause for gratitude. But of course, we invite you to always do that. And we also invite you to not be afraid of getting those initial ink lines. And this is hard.
Yeah,
it's hard to put them
because
down.
It's sort of like jumping in a cold pool. You know, if you think about it too much, you might just hesitate.
And you were very courageous. But, at any point in time, you want to pause and just give yourself that space for gratitude. We invite you to do that.
So now we see that we've kind of got this channel going on here. And because this is the first ink that we're putting down, I kind of want to be bold about it. We're making a big mark here. And I see these pegs here. I am going to kind of jump over and creep into this space down here just a tiny bit. So as if...
Oh, it goes under that
I think this is going to go under here.
I love that. That's very cool.
And maybe just finish right on the edge here.
Love that.
And again, yours might look a little bit different. This one here is just going to finish up on the edge. All right. Now we're going to have some fun here. We're going to start at the top, and we're going to start to link these orbs together. And this is definitely one of those tangles you want to sort of say a mantra in your head. You want to keep that stroke line right on the surface of your brain, because it's very easy to kind of kick into something that's more familiar and make a misstroke.
so much focus
Yeah,
you need.
so it's in focus. So we're going to start off linking, we're going to go all around that first row of orbs. Don't even think about these guys over here. And I'm going to do a shape that is a curve, and it is the reverse of the letter S. So we have these orbs here, and we're going to do a little bit of a technique we love to use called take off and land. So I want to take off from this orb, and I'm going to land on this orb. And you do that by slightly retracing some of the orb. And that makes for a graceful exit and a graceful landing.
Right. And whenever I'm doing something like this, Martha, I always will draw it in the air a few times.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just to help my brain kind of learn the movement.
We're going to do this stroke that is the reverse of an S. So we're starting on the left and we're landing down here. And we're going to do that stroke, the same stroke in the same direction all the way down. So we're going to get really good at it by the time we get to the end.
We're going to breathe.
Yeah, we're going to take a deep breath and we're going to be brave. And I know it sounds silly, but when you get too comfortable sometimes is when you make a misstroke. So reversing that S shape and be boisterous about it. We're not going to do this in a relaxed way. We're going to really do the S shape. All right, so I'm starting on the top here. I'm curving around and I'm landing.
Nice job.
That's the hardest one.
It is the hardest one. Yep.
And you can even kind of go over it in the air a few times if that helps, with your feeling comfortable.
Yep.
So now we're going to link the next two and we'll do the same thing. I'm curving over the top and I'm coming around.
And feel free to do this if you want to try it on another piece of paper a few times. You want to get your flow going.
Each time I do it, I'm getting to reshape that orb into something a little more orby or a little more whatever. And it's a reverse shape, curving around, taking off and landing. It's really a great way to smooth out the way one stroke touches another.
Taking your time.
Reverse S,
Nice
curving
and
around.
slow.
And now here, I'd like to go under this border that's untouched by color right now. So just being mindful to stop and imagine where it comes out and curves around.
I already love it.
And this last one. All right. So we're going to journey back to the top. And let's just leave this little guy up here for a minute while we're working, and we'll connect that one later. And so now we get to do something that's familiar to a lot of us, and that is the shape and actual letter S. So if that's helpful to say that in your head while you're doing it, that's what we're going to do. So we're going in the opposite direction now of this one, and we're curving to the left and landing on the right. Over the top and landing down here. Again, resculpting any orbs. We're going to be kind of touching all of these elements several times before we're done.
Working on a bigger piece, it isn't as easy to turn your tile every time, but it is. You can turn it a little bit. You want to try to get that tangle in the best position for your hand. Nice.
And now we can go back up and kind of add this little guy up here. There. So now, I mean, this is actually kind of interesting looking as it is. We're going to, again, join these orbs, but instead of the long way here, we're going to start to fragment up these spaces. So starting again here and moving this direction, I'm going to take these first two orbs, this couple here, and now instead of an S shape, I'm going to do a C shape, but in reverse. So it's a curve like a smile or a frown, depending on the kind of day you're having. Hopefully it's a smile. And I'm going to take off from this one, and I'm going to land on this guy right here. So feel free to watch me. I'm taking off and C shape like that.
And I feel like you can really listen to your drawing. Like, she obviously couldn't have done it the other way because the lines are in the way. So really,
Right.
like, look at the
if
work.
I had gone that way, I wouldn't want to cross that line. So this is how it makes sense here. And now we're going to do it with these two. I don't want to go that way because I'd have to cross that line. I'm going to come this way with a C shape. Now you start to get this interesting weave that's developing. Take off.
I don't think we talked about why this tangle's called Puppy Hugs.
Well, there's definitely some hugs going on in here, some huggins. And then a little cadent, perhaps.
So this is what we call a hybrid tangle. It's when you take two different tangles and sort of smush them together and you get something else.
All right, just being careful here. Coming up, and then you can't really see that. And then, there we go. Kind of neat, huh?
It's very cool. I mean,
Yeah.
It's cool just like that.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to start to kind of build and make this interesting. I'm going to go back to the lines we just drew, that C shape, and I'm going to draw an aura to the right or to the top of each one of these, depending on how your tile is in front of you.
Fatten it up a little bit.
Yeah, so this one has to be a little funky. But you'll see here, I kind of start in the same way where I take off on this edge and land on that edge. A little slight curve to it just to aura that line. And my aura spaces are pretty similar. They're never going to be exact, of course. But try to have a consistent spacing. There's so many ways that you can embellish something like this. And because we have a lot of lines going on here, I think I'm going to add just some elements of that are a little inkier or more dramatic. Is kind of how we like to say it. So what I'm going to do here at the bottom, let's see if we can. At the bottom of each one of these kind of segments, I'm going to draw our old friend crescent moon, just a nice little half moon shape.
Little bits of drama add so much.
Yeah. And then I'm going to draw the aura around it, like this, all the way down, and inking in as I go. Just adding some interest. And if you had a favorite filler, we'd love to see it.
Any of these patterns that we work with, it's all about, like, you know, creating that initial structure and then deciding, is there something kind of subtle you can add to it, or maybe you change up one stroke and that changes the whole tangle. So there's always ways to kind of create randomness or change in your tangles.
It's fun seeing how the ink just looks and feels different on the colored background.
Yep.
So while we're down here, what I thought we'd do is kind of have a little bit of somewhat of an echo on the other side of this aura. But this time I'm going to draw a triangular shape and then add the aura.
Yeah, so you get this little layered shape back there.
Yeah, so put a little tiny one here. Suggestion. It's like a little bit of a mirror, but
using that one above to kind of tell you how big to make it.
Yeah.
Love that.
So it's sort of like a gem, but it's behind the aura. Kind of dressing it up a little here.
Bejewels. Bedazzling.
Mm-hmm. Betangling?
No, betangling.
We have a lot of fun with our Tangle speak.
Yeah, we do.
Because why not?
If we can make space for it, I think it actually does bring some joy to our lives. It warms our hearts. I think sometimes we need to just not take everything so serious. But this is seriously beautiful. That we could definitely say.
All right, so this is looking fun. I think what I'd like to do is kind of really set this into the composition and add an aura around the whole thing. So
it's really pretty, Martha. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Starting at the top and kind of where we began, I'm going to follow along this beautiful curved stroke now that's here. Really taking my time and kind of enjoying that magic of aura, of not having to worry about, I'm not even worried about the shape I'm drawing because I'm just responding to what's here. And I think on the end here, I'm going to kind of take it all the way around. Even responding to this guy here.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
And then coming around. I'm going to stop here because I find it kind of awkward to push my pen in this direction. So I'm going to meet back up with that later, and I'm going to come back to the top and do my aura on this side. And I'm pausing here, coming around, and landing on that bottom one right there. So the last thing that I want to add with this pen is you can choose to add a little bit of ink in the center of each one of these orbs, these very first orbs. Or I'm doing this sort of little detail that kind of looks like a screw, you know, like a flathead screw there. You can fill it in with nothing. You could add just a little orb of ink. It is Tangler's choice.
One of the things important to note is, like, Martha worked big. I think if you're not used to working big, your tendency is probably to, like, make your puppy hugs really close together. But I encourage you to stretch your tangling imagination and abilities and start off with that same proportion so that your tangles are big, and then you can always work smaller within the tangle, but it's nice to...
Yeah, especially with using a little bit of a bigger pen tip, that allows you to stretch your strokes a little bit more gracefully. So I'm going to cap my 05 pen right now for a bit. Oh, one up here. Can't forget that last guy. And I'm going to pick up the 01 pen. And just going to do just a few little details to further kind of plant this on the piece of art here that we're working on. Every time we have one of these little curves here, I'm just going to do what we call rounding, just adding a little bit of ink.
So effective though, right?
This kind of makes everything a little more there. Kind of gets it stuck to the paper a little bit more. We're going to be sort of dealing with each tangle one at a time as we add to this composition.
Yeah, Martha, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things we often do with a project pack is try to just present another way of doing something, that just because we did it one way before doesn't mean there's not another way to do it. And so a lot of times if we have something we did similarly, we'll be like, oh, well, how else can we present this, and let tanglers know that there's always, more than one way to do something. And the last time we worked on a bigger project like this, we tangled the whole entire thing and then shaded at the end and added love at the end, which was really cool. I loved that process. It really created suspense, and it was a very cool before and after.
It was more of a big reveal.
It was a very big reveal. But we thought we would do things a little different this time, just to offer up a little bit of a different approach. And we're going to be adding love and shading throughout the process. So starting today, we'll be kind of taking puppy hugs to I would say a 90% finishedness. And
exactly.
Then at the end, we'll go back and
just do some little last minute fun things.
Yeah.
You may love this just as it is, but I might just add one more little thing. It sort of helps.
But wait, there's
draw
more.
The eye. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a little.
That is a cool detail.
A little line, a little dot. Maybe it's a few dots. Kind of emphasizes that very vertical sense. And all right, so I'm going to cap my pen, and I'm going to add a little bit of graphite to this. Working with this sort of weaving feeling that we have almost without graphite, but I'd like to emphasize it a little more by adding graphite just under that aura, the side of my pencil. I'll do one of them and kind of show you what we're talking about, and then you can, I'm going to smooth that in.
Gorge. Love it.
Kind of giving the sense that this one's going under the other side. So I'm going to do that all along the top of each of these. Got a nice sharp pencil here, and I'm using just the edge. Kind of have a lot of control when you have that point right along that area that you are focused on. And as Molly said, we're adding some shading as we go, but once this amazing project gets filled up, you might decide to go back and add more shading, or perhaps highlighting, or even just blending it a little bit more. Might even add a little graphite just on the other side of this line, just because it's going under that white border there. All right, so now we've got this down here. We're on our way.
It looks great, Martha. This is a great way to start off. So much, like, it's got drama. It's got this vining kind of nuance, like just going across the top. It's a perfect tangle to start with.
Yeah, so I think we said it before, but just as so you know, as we get going in a rhythm with adding tangles, the idea is that we are going to do one together like this, and then we're going to choose another spot to put the same tangle in a different place on your piece. So so as we were saying, we want you to choose another place on your composition, and here I have gone ahead and put one up here. It's kind of cute, just a little short version of it, and
we have plans for these kind of pointy things, so if you don't want to cover up a lot.
In this large circle section that we, kind of strung off here, but you can, for the most part, don't put it here.
Yeah, we definitely have plans for stuff in there.
Yeah, but, having it creep, you could even do another section down here somewhere if you wanted to. All right, so we are going to look at putting another tangle on this beautiful
very exciting. I feel
piece.
like once you have that first tangle in, the next one is so different.
Yeah, so we want to look at doing something a little bit different, and we were all talking about like going back to some original early tangles that we all learned. Some of the OGs, the originals. And this one was speaking to me, so I was like, I'd really like to pull this one out. And it's a tangle called frondus. It's a very organic tangle, but very simple. So I'd like you to focus on maybe a place on your tile. And again, we're still working in this space here that has maybe two lines crossing, something like that. It'll be some place to focus on.
Like a V shape sort of thing.
Or a V shape. I think I'm going to be working on these two areas right here. Again, I think I'm going to use the string as my inspiration. Instead of working inside of a space, I'm going to use the string as my guide.
Which is a great way to like start off a composition like what we're doing, is to like have these like sort of anchoring tangles that sort of define space, and that's exactly what we're doing with both puppy hugs and frondus.
So I'm going to start out with this one just so we can get kind of a complete look to it here. And I am going to start with the 05 black pen again. Try to draw a little larger than you're used to, and really take advantage of all this beautiful open space. So using this as a guide, and feel free to watch, I'm going to be drawing a seed shape. And you can see, with my finger there, it's about the width of my fingernail. And yours can be a little larger, and we're actually going to fill that in with ink. And I'll just show you that on the first one so you can kind of get a sense of size. And when you fill it in with ink, of course, you get to sculpt and shape and make it a little bigger if you want. But let's just put that seed down so we get an idea, like a watermelon seed. Black. And so I'm going to plant these seeds alternating up this string line. Now the string line is there as a guide. I'm not going to trace over it, but I am going to sort of catty corner these little seeds and alternate them up an invisible stem. So the seeds on my right side are sort of parallel to each other, and the seeds on this side are sort of parallel to each other. But remember, this is an organic tangle, and so anything goes here. You can actually have your seeds be directly across from each other too if you didn't like this setup. Back and forth, and then when you get to what you think is the end, you can kind of cap it off with a one on the top. And imagining that this is a branch, we are going to aura the shape of all the seeds, and then we're going to go back and fill them all in with ink. So I'm giving myself a little branch to start, like this. And now I'm going to aura the seeds. It bumps up against our puppy hugs a little bit. And then down the other side. Very sort of primitive shape. And then just kind of a little stem like that. So before we go on too much further, I'm going to cap this 05 pen and pick up this really great fat number 12 pen and use this to fill in and sort of sculpt my seed shapes. Like I said, take that time to sculpt your seed shapes.
I love the graphic qualities of this tangle.
Yeah, I mean it's different, it's simplistic, but we are working on a composition and adding, it's like we talk about the Zentangle method like a recipe, like we're adding all these elements and layers and
ingredients.
Ingredients, even though we can't, you might not say like, well, why am I adding this bay leaf to my sauce? Because it has no taste, but then you realize later on how important it was to the process.
Yeah, I do have to say, even in my early days of tangling, I was very drawn to a lot of the texture tangles and like how tiny can I draw these fine lines together. But what I've realized is that those fine line tangles really only shine if they have contrasting tangles with them. So there needs kind of both. You need lightness for the dark, to show, or darkness for the lightness to show.
Or simple open spaces for the intricates too.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with my seeds again, kind of using this as an inspiration of where to put them. Also keeping in mind that this one will curve a little bit. So again, if you want to, we have this gift of coloring them in with ink so that if you want to kind of work on the shape when you put it down. And now I'm going to go behind this puppy hugs here just for a little bit, imagining where this would pop out on this side. And you kind of top it off with one on the end. So I'm going to attach this one kind of off of this one. I mean, and you can be interpretive with this. And then we start our kind of creative aura.
I think that's what I like about it, is it creates this sort of like interesting shape that you would never have drawn without planting the seeds first.
Exactly. Here we go. So let's, we'll grab that number 12 and we'll get these filled in. And I am not trying to illustrate some botanical specimen, so I'm kind of being free and relaxed with my shapes. I'm not fretting over the frondus.
You're not fretting over the frondus.
Sorry, I just had to say that. But no, it's true. It's like I'm not trying to have it be perfectly measured. My seeds are not all exactly the same shape and size. It has a little more of a relaxed
character.
And that is deliberate. That is what makes this piece look like a human did it and not AI.
That pen does the job quick, huh?
It really does. So this is kind of neat, right? It's a little bit different. I think kind of how we did with this puppy hugs, I'm going to add just a little bit of extra ink in there to help kind of get that solidified on the paper. So I've grabbed my O1 pen and just going to go back and kind of put a little mortar in these corners here. Just a little bit. It's almost like a shadow. It's such a great trick that elevates your artwork from one-dimensional to two without even adding the shading. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't even see it. You actually don't see it.
I know,
when you look at the piece later, you won't notice it, but you'll see that it's different than something that hasn't had this.
That looks gorgeous.
Yeah, so we'll just add a little graphite to this.
So one thing we're going to be recommending as we move forward with adding graphite is if you want to have like a piece of copy paper at hand, we have one here that and I don't think Martha needs it right now, but when the time comes,
well, depending on where your puppy hugs is, you could take a piece of paper and put it down and rest your hand on it if you didn't want to smudge your...
Right, since we will be starting to add quite a bit of graphite, it's a good practice to have so that you're not kind of creating a mess of your work.
I'll use it.
Okay. Why not?
Why not? So I've got my graphite pencil here, and on this hanging frondus, I like this. I'm going to do is a very simplistic way of shading it, but I'm only going to shade one side. So pick a side, any side. I'm going to shade the right side. That's what works for me right now. And so kind of right down the middle with the side of my pencil, I am just drawing a pretty dark line that goes right down the middle. And then I'm going to blend it all on this side. And I started out like this. I'm going to see how it takes me. Maybe I add a little more. I haven't decided yet. But I'm kind of pulling it into the leaves only on one side. You know, once you get that, touch that heavy line of graphite, you can take what's left on the tortillon and really spread it out. Again, very simple, but kind of leaves a dramatic result, kind of very graphic. Yeah, and I think I don't even need anything else because it'll fade to the corners.
It's cool.
Yeah. Don't have to shade the inky sections, those seeds that we filled in. Again, kind of simplistic, but we are working on, you know, building character as we go and see how it interacts with the other tangles that we're going to do.
Looks great.
So I'm going to do the same on this side. The tortillon is a really wonderful tool, and sometimes you might think it's frivolous or not necessary, but so even though I have my hand going back and forth all over this art that I just put graphite on, I've worked it with that tortillon into the paper. It's really not going anywhere.
I love the tortillon. I usually have I have so many on my desk in different stages, and
yeah, so there we have some frondus
really
playing
cool
with our puppy hugs. That's pretty fun.
Super fun.
And so we're going to choose another spot to
Yeah.
add just another little sprig of frondus. So we're going to stay away from the big circle.
And the
we're
big
going to
square.
stay away from the square. But perhaps just in a clever little spot here or there that you think would add balance to what's here so far. So just as a little, you sort of do the second location as a little homage to the bigger one. So here I've added it up here, just in that corner. It's very sweet, actually.
Just to start to build our composition.
Just to start to build and balance. Yeah, I think it looks very cool.
Kind of honoring the little borders there, but maybe having some artistic license here and there, which is nice.
So you can see how it kind of starting to fill up the space up here. So
I think that's a pretty good first day of tangling. I would say we did all right. Yeah, that was really great.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us. And we're going to gather our materials and get ready for our next video.
Awesome job, Martha.
See you soon. Bye-bye.